2020 has just been a shit show, man.
Do you know the moon is cracking? Did you hear about that?
Like what? What?
Yeah.
Welcome everyone to the 10K Run podcast. This is episode 112, titled "It's Coming." What is coming? I don't know. How's it going, Brooke?
Whatever it is, right? It is coming. So there we go. I'm doing well, Amos. For what it is, I am currently still in lockdown. In fact, the entire country of the UK will probably be in lockdown very shortly. Our prime minister's recently suggested that as of Thursday next week, it's going to be a 4-week lockdown in England. Mind you, we have been in lockdown for 2 weeks so far in Wales. So yeah, this is going to be a pretty shitty Christmas from the look of it. Not to mention, I got nowhere for Halloween. I couldn't go out and get trick or treats or meet some bitches and hoes. Nothing. So I'm not in the best of moods at the moment. How are you doing?
Some sexy witches.
Some sexy witches, man.
I'm doing all right. Excuse me. I got to I actually got to work on Halloween. Got to see some interesting stuff. People going trick or treating. Got some people just kind of left a bucket of candy outside their front door. But other than that, I'm going to be preparing for my trip down to Dallas to the shindig, to the Jorgensen campaign election night party shindig extravaganza dealio. Yeah, it's going to be basically me and a lot of the campaign people. Some people are probably going to have more decorum, we'll say, while some of us are just, it's a libertarian event with alcohol. Like, what do you think is going to happen?
You're going to have some very interesting caucuses come up. And at least it's in Texas. It should be alligator free if we're lucky, right?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, we hope.
Yeah, I know we had our last week. We had Caitlin, and actually, so it was her and campaign manager for Spike Cohen. He unfortunately won't be there. Spike will be there, obviously, but his campaign manager won't be there. He had some I think he's like prior commitments that he had going on. Like, he still helps with the campaign, but he's doing it from home. But I'll be there with. I'll be meeting up with Caitlin, who we had on last week. I'll be meeting up with Spike, who we had on a few weeks before that. But as well as Joe Jorgensen and her husband, they're going to be there. Both sides of the campaign, and most of their staff is going to be there. And
Good.
It's going to be at. It's been announced, so it's going to be at the Tower Club in Dallas.
Excellent.
I don't know if I've seen some pictures of it, and some people use it as a scene in some movies about clubs and stuff. And it's a cool building. It's in downtown Dallas. It's like 49th, 50th floor up or something. It's not like super tall, but it's tall enough. Like, if you're up there, it's like, you're up there. You're above the city.
Should be a good view.
That'll be on Tuesday night. So I'll be probably leaving like tonight or tomorrow morning. We'll see. So
good. When is the election? The election in the US is on Tuesday. So today is for those listening in the future, this is the 1st of November. So we got 2 more days.
That's
of
what's
COVID.
And I basically, like, today I'm gonna do a few things. Pretty much, yeah. I'm gonna do a little work, get packed up, finish my ballot, and then just drop it off in the mailbox. Now,
you're actually going to mail it. You're not going to go and drop it off at whatever the municipality is. No. You're going to trust the post office.
Yeah, dude. Like, you know where it's going? It's going to go to that. It's going to go to that post office over there.
Yeah.
And then it's going to go 20 minutes down the road to the county office.
Do you still have time to do that?
Yeah, I can just drop it in the mailbox. It'll go out on Monday. And as long as it's postmarked either the day of or the day before the election, it's good.
Okay, I hope so, because some places the cutoff date has already passed, and they're like, you cannot post it at this point. You've got to hand it in, or it's not going to reach.
So, Minnesota tried to. There was a Supreme Court ruling There's not Supreme Court. There was a ruling involving like trying to extend the deadline.
Yeah, in Wisconsin.
No, Minnesota as well.
Oh, okay.
But really, what it came down to is no, you can't. Like they were trying to like accept ballots that would have been postmarked for later dates.
Right.
But it was like no, it has to be postmarked on election day or before.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how it is. I know some places they've actually cut it off and see like, no, because I see all the Democrats are screaming online, do not mail your ballots. Make sure and send them in, make sure and hand them into the thing because it's going to take too long for the whole thing to work. So maybe Minnesota's a different system. So, but I do believe we have some housekeeping that we should take care of.
Yes. All right, everyone.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
Watch the balls. Watch the balls, everyone.
Hopefully they didn't fall on your balls.
No. Oh, no. All right, end the show early, guys. Oh, man. No, basically, yeah, wash your balls, guys.
Did you use the code? Did we get a kickback when you ordered that?
Actually, I could check that quick. But basically, if you love, of course, supporting the show, checking us out, we do appreciate you joining us today. But we do ask that if you want to support the show, there's a handful of different ways you could do it. You could either, let's see here, you could support the show by subscribing to the channel, checking out our previous videos, liking the video, leaving a comment, subscribe to us on podcasting platforms, and pretty much all of that. Or different ways that you could also support us. Let me see. Did it go through? Did I get the kickback? Oh,
Well, check it later, man. Check it later.
Oh man, I didn't. So
you didn't use the code.
I didn't use the code actually. Get your good soap here. Tacticalsoap.com. You go there and you use the coupon code 10KRUM. A little bit of kickback goes to us. It's actually good stuff. I'm going to be using this. I have been using this, but I'll use this to, I got all 6 different types right now, so I got plenty for a while. But it's good soap. It citrus and hops. Yeah, citrus and hops. So it's basically just like an orangey kind of smell.
Orange beer.
Yeah, sandalwood bourbon. Ooh, that's real nice. So it's a good soap that acts as a good, I'd say, good way to like not only stay clean, but also after you use it, you smell like almost you have a little bit of cologne on you as well. Plus, it's pheromone infused, so it definitely can give you an edge on not only smelling good, but making people feel good about how you smell. But basically, yeah, check that out. Or if you want to support us on a monthly basis, you can go to subscribestar.com/shitlord-preachers, where you can support on a monthly basis. That gives you the $1 a month, gets you into their Discord server. Anything above that gets you different things like shout-outs, access to our Raw Takes video series, which of course I'll be giving a Raw Takes when I get back.
Yes.
Of the whole shindig. And that's, and then of course there's a whole catalog of videos that are talking about different stories and things we've talked about that we wouldn't talk about on the show. Like
hookers and blow.
Yeah. All those crazy times we've had. Anyways, so yeah, thanks everyone for checking us out. Now we got a lot of go. First, it's the election. Obviously, that's the big one.
Yes. There is a lot that's going on. I don't know where you want to start, but have you been following any of the early voting, any of the patterns, or any of the analysis of what's been going on with the US elections?
We talked about this. Excuse me. When after the last debate, between Trump and Biden, there was this whole thing where Biden said, we're going to move away from fracking.
Right. We're going to phase out fracking. Yes.
And even just phase out oil in general. And then the moderator was like, why would you do that?
Why would you say that?
What are you doing? And then Trump kind of called him out like, hey, did you hear that, Texas? Did you hear that, Pennsylvania? All these states that have oil.
Yes.
And then you said there was like all these states showing like a high, like a trending,
A
basically,
search.
yeah, high search trends in can I change my vote or
Yes.
stuff like that. So, um, yeah, that'd be an interesting option, wouldn't it? Being able to, like, if you had an online voting system, somehow
I mean,
connect.
I know 4chan said that they discovered a way that supposedly you can do it in Washington State. I don't know if it's true or not, but apparently all you need was the person's name and their date of birth, and you can like access their municipal records. And within it, it's like somebody actually did this in a video. You could go through it and like
Oh boy.
check. I don't know if that's for voting. I don't know what that's for.
But I mean, I'm
4chan.
thinking there's got to be a secure way they can create like a voting portal for local for people to go in, set up their vote, and if they ever want to change it, that they can.
I think that's problematic. I think voter beware. You know, you got to be informed. You got to do it right. I don't think, because if you could find a way to digitally change it, that's when problems are definitely going to start. I mean, you have enough problems with electronic voting as it is
I'm
now.
just thinking that,
So.
like, I mean, with the advances in encryption, there's got to be a way they could try to do something.
No, don't do it. I think the old-fashioned way is the safest way. If you got a physical ballot and it's got to be counted, there are very few ways to fuck it up.
But I mean, in order for the voter to be more informed, I mean, are they just going to be stuck with the decision they made? That if they made a bad decision,
yeah, if you fucked up, I mean, how many bad decisions have we made? How many politicians have lied to us? And Bush has taken us took you guys into war out here. Tony Blair basically fucked the country. Yeah. Paul, we have voters' remorse all the time. That's kind of what's expected, Trump, ironically, is one of the first politicians who's not a politician that actually is doing what he said he would do. Like, who the fuck would have thought that, right? What a revolutionary concept.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, the voting. So, with the voting that's come out, there's definitely. I know there's been a lot of initial polling results. Like, I think the concern was early voting was going to lean towards Biden, and then it was going to switch back towards Trump because more Republican and right-wing voters tend to go out to vote on their own.
Yes, that was the prevailing theory. However, the early voting. So there are two things. There's the early voting, which is people going to the physical polling space to cast a vote early. So a lot of states have opened up in the big cities and stuff like that. And then there's the absentee or the mail-in voting, which is what you're going to deal with, right? So you've got a mail-in ballot, you're going to drop it into the post box, and you're going to pray and hope that they actually deliver it and it doesn't get tossed into a river and all that good stuff. Anyway, the early signs, the Democratic strategy was, okay, the mail-in voting and the early voting and the absentee voting will side heavily with Biden, and they need a certain percentage of margin to basically kind of secure whatever state it is. So I know in the state of Florida, for instance, they needed at least 600,000 to 700,000 vote lead in the Democratic early voting to stand any chance of actually winning the state on the influx of Republicans coming in on election day. So when this process started, for instance, like every state right now, well, not every state, no, that's not true, but in the swing states for the majority of the time in the early days, Biden was clearly ahead in the big players. So the Florida, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, even Nevada for, stuff like that. And it looked like, at least early on, they weren't close to the margins that they needed, but it looked good if the trend had continued. However, the trend did not continue.
Yeah. Huh.
This is where we're at right now. I think the lead in Florida, Biden is still ahead with the mail-in voting. More than 50% of Biden voters have voted. So I think it's like 60% have already voted, while only 30 to 40% of the Republicans have voted. And the gap, what they need was 600 to 700,000. They're down to 150,000. The gap between the Democrats and the Republicans.
and the big thing
hey,
is
what's happening, Red Crusader? Welcome.
I'm thinking a lot of the people that are going to be popping up too, voting on the day of.
Well, this is it. So there's no results right now. The modeling is structured on the idea that the bulk of the Republican vote is going to come in on
Also,
election
votes that
day.
just haven't. Some states don't count the votes yet.
Correct. Now, this is a very good distinction that you just made there. What we have, the data that we have, is the number of registered Democrats, registered Republicans, and unaffiliated voters, whether they've returned their ballot or they voted. It does not mean that we actually know what they voted. So we are assuming 100% Democrats are voting for Biden, 100% of Republicans are voting for Trump, and the unaffiliated, they try and mathematically change that out.
What do you think? This is more of an kind of an off topic. Well, how much of a percent do you think the Libertarians will get?
I think they'll do about 2%. I mean, about 2 to 3. I think they might match Gary Johnson's run.
Johnson had 3.8.
I think they'll do at least 3, maybe between 2 and 3. I think. I don't think there's as much dislike of the candidates. Like let's just be honest. Right now in Pennsylvania, a swing state, as a recent report just came out, 57,000 people showed up for a Trump rally. Right, which is unheard of. I mean, this is just like, these are record-breaking numbers. The amount of enthusiasm and the anti-Trump energy that he may have had as a non-politician coming in 2016, that's gone. He definitely has the enthusiasm. And I think they're going to pull from the Libertarians. Because although he's not actually a Libertarian, he has done more to reduce the troops, reduce regulation, reduce taxes. He hasn't been as active on the Second Amendment and other things, but he's better than anything else you got out there in a lot of ways.
Yeah. So there's that.
I think Libertarian and the Greens 1 to 2%. We'll see.
So basically, what you're saying is 2024 has to be even bigger shit show.
Yeah, it's going to be Ivanka Trump.
Oh boy!
But she might actually do it.
Harris?
Yeah, it's going to be somebody like that. If the Democrats don't implode over the next 4 years.
I mean, not to well, obviously not to get into that, but that'd be a very interesting election. Like, the first election where both are women.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to come down to that.
What if the Libertarians had a woman? You'd have 3 women.
Yeah, you got 3 women, man. I think it'll be Ivanka Trump, maybe Candace Owens as her running mate. I have no idea who's going to be running on the Democrat side, but this is actually really good, and this is what I think a lot of people are not seeing in what Trump has done. Trump has completely upset the political reality of politics in America. Because once upon a time, you got these crony Republicans coming in there. You got the Bush and, Bush Jr., Bush Sr., making a lot of money. The same shit that Biden has been accused of doing is basically the norm of politics in America.
Please clap.
Yeah, you remember Jeb Bush, like, please clap. Just like low energy Jeb. But this is it. Like, Trump has actually come and been like, no, we're going to get some shit done. And like him or hate him, he's got shit done. Even on the international stage, when you're not politically invested in any kind of special interest, you can do peace deals because you're not as tied to the political win as some people are. Like most presidents, they wait till their second term to try an Israeli peace deal because that's going to be their legacy. Trump doesn't give a shit. He's like, we'll give up this, we'll do that, and he actually puts these things together. It's going to be very difficult for a crony politician on either side to win back the trust of the American people. I think it's going to be a slew of outsiders for a while. So maybe Oprah for the Democrats and Ivanka for the Republicans with Candace Owens as the VP.
Why Candace Owens?
Because she's black.
Oh, man. Oh, yeah, that whole appeal they want to go with.
Yeah. Those who don't like identity politics are going to play identity politics.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Yeah,
It's going to be interesting.
the
It's going to be
era of
interesting.
identity politics. That's a fun one. The Republicans, no, 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 and even Candace is probably going to be like, no, no, I'm not about identity politics, but I'll run for VP. Like what?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I hope. We obviously don't know. It depends on what happens with Trump in this. If he does well in the next 4 years, I think he'll put his daughter up to kind of continue the Trumpian, legacy.
Yeah. So okay, we got all that going on. um,
But yeah, back to the early voting though. Have you followed even the Senate race? Do you know what's going on with the Senate?
we don't have a Senate seat up for voting. I don't believe.
Maybe not in Minnesota, but I think there are 10 or 20 seats or something that are up.
I haven't followed that. No. I know the big thing right now with Congress is, of course, the failure to act on stimulus.
Right. Well, and the House is in play, not by very much, and it's unlikely the Republicans are going to actually retake the House. But it's actually possible because even Nancy Pelosi is starting to realize she's not really as secure. There is a chance the Republicans could take the House, the Senate, and the presidency.
Babylon B did an article where ACB dresses up as Nancy Pelosi to really scare people for Halloween.
yeah. I don't blame them. That's brilliant. Yeah, it's an absolute shit show. What's going on? That I mean, even if CNN, I think recently CNN was the one kind of giving Nancy Pelosi shit about not releasing the stimulus solely on political grounds, not to give Trump a win. That's kind of so. If CNN, the bastion of fake Democrat news, is not going to, is actually turning against the party, that says a lot.
Right. Yeah, I haven't kept up on the Senate side. What do you think, though? Do you think the Senate's going to stay Republican?
It looks so. What
about
and
the
here's
House?
the House, which is a recent development as of the last few days. The House is now in play. So before it was kind of because there are not as many Democratic seats that are going up. The Democrats have a pretty decent margin, of majority. But it's not looking that good anymore. Where they thought were clear cut, we will win this states, they're now battlegrounds. I'm not saying they're going to lose. I'm just saying that it's tightened up, which is fantastic because it means everybody got this shit wrong.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it's the end of the media circus of the Democratic Party because all of the polling, all of the punditry.
Oh no! So Ilhan Omar, AOC.
Yeah, they're not up. They had their what is it? What's the 2-year thing? I can't remember. But AOC won her last one in New York, and Omar I think won hers as well.
No, but the House is up every 2 years.
Right, but not all the same states are up at the same time. So different states do it at different times. So this time, not every state is on the ballot. It's only, like I said, I think it's only 20 states or maybe 30 states. Somebody could probably fact check me on that. Because a couple other states like New York, basically the Northeast, Florida, they did theirs like a year ago. So
Really?
it's always kind of chopping and changing and stuff like that. Yeah. AOC was campaigning not that long ago for hers and she won.
No, I see Ilhan Omar signs.
Oh, well, maybe Minnesota is one of them in play, but I know AOC definitely. She's already won her what is it called? The by-election. Not a by-election. Whatever it is. Whatever the Congress thing is. But yeah.
Let's see. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, political party, domestic partner. That's funny. Assumed office 2019. Yeah. So then
so she would have
2018 election.
Yeah.
So then she'd be running again.
She's what, in the House or the Senate?
Does she have a 2020 campaign? Yeah, 2020 campaign.
Yeah. Is it House or Senate? Yeah, because hers is already passed.
Hosted. Let's see. Yeah, so she will be.
She's in the House, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the House, as I say, it's not all at the same time. The Senate is only 20 or 30 states that are going up this time. And there are fewer Democratic seats that are going up. But the Republicans look like they'll keep it. And for the first time, the polls are suggesting that the House is in play.
Oh, okay. No, I mean, I figured. Yeah, typically, no, they don't do an off year like that though. Typically, it's every 2 years. So 2020
Yeah.
is going to be she's going to have to be reelected.
Yeah, but it's not all at the same time, which is what I was saying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Really?
she,
They wouldn't line it up for election day like they usually do?
it depends. Like if it's a safe seat, like as Nancy Pelosi says, there's some districts you put a D on a can of shit and people will vote for it, right? If it's a safe district or there's a by-election or whatever, they'll run it immediately. There's really isn't any point of kind of contesting it, sort of thing. So yeah, it's interesting. I mean, if it is, there is a trifecta and the Republicans take all three branches, it's the end of the mainstream media as we know it. Well, except for Fox News, probably. It's just their credibility is going to be completely shot. And all of the polling agencies are going to be completely shot. So yeah, it's good. I anything that brings along the collapse of the media empire, I'm definitely in support of.
Right. No, she's up for re-election.
Who's that?
AOC.
Yeah, but she just did an election.
Nope. November 3rd this year.
Unless there was something else that went on.
No. So she gets. So they operate very similar to how presidents and senators operate. So senators every 6 years, House reps every 2 years. They have to go through the entire process every time. November 3rd
Right.
of 2020, 2022, 24, 26, 28, 30. They have to run. It is 2 years to the.
Oh, I see. Okay, I see what it was. The primary election. She was primaried in her district.
That's why I was sitting. I was like,
okay. That because I knew there was an election that she won. It was the primary election. Okay, so fair enough. But yes.
Yeah, I was like, no, because they wouldn't do like a 2017 election or a 20. Those typically you would do for maybe some local stuff.
Right. Now they do it if the senator dies or there's a recall.
Special elections.
Yeah, you'll do a special election
even
for that.
Then they'll kind of try to line it back up.
Right. But yeah, it would make sense because that's where the most of the votes. Everybody's coming out to vote at that time. So fair enough.
Yeah. I was like, what?
Yeah, because I remember saying that she won
in 2021, or they wouldn't. At least they would elect her this year. Yeah,
because I remember that because I remember reading the article saying that she won her district. So I just assumed it was she went up again, but yeah, it was the primary, I guess.
Yeah. We can actually move on to this topic. I'd say. You think we're good? We can move on to another topic. Our next one.
Yeah.
Censorship.
Spicy.
So I'll give you this. Now, obviously, there's always been media censorship is the big one. Tech censorship, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and all these that are like kind of censoring Google results and stuff, kind of censoring all sorts of stuff. But Facebook, well, Twitter was getting caught doing some stuff, but Facebook. I'll touch on this one real quick. So we had our friend. We had Caitlin on last week. We were talking to her. Unfortunately, we didn't get to touch on the fact her getting sucked on Facebook by accident. It was a erroneous error or something. She got a whole thing about it.
It's always an error. It's always a mistake.
That's an error. So basically, I didn't know. So
that's tech speak for unruly employee. That's what.
Yeah. So basically, so she's social media director for Spike Cohen's campaign, as part of the George Jorgensen campaign. So she, I don't know, like what was it? First debate. At the end of the first debate, first presidential debate, the yelling fest, the shit show,
the WWE.
Yeah. So right as it ends, we're messaging her and stuff, and all of a sudden, her name, her like profile picture, just goes gray, like to the gray default, and we're like, what the fuck's going on? So I'm trying to message her and I can't. So then I call her and I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" She goes, "Oh, I don't know, just no warning, nothing. It just nuked, gone." It's like, "What?" She goes, "Yeah, I've got." She's got pictures of her kids and whatever. She's just got her family and all this stuff on there. Usually, people will use their Facebook almost as kind of like almost a cloud too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, like they obviously have it on their phone, but it's more organized on their Facebook.
Sure.
I'm like, oh crap. So we're trying to figure this out. So then she moves to one of to like a soccer account, and then we're talking to her there, and then within 24 hours, that one's gone too.
Really?
Yeah. Now there were okay. So it's an IP ban. Someone put an IP thing. It caught on to that, and it automatically did that. Okay. Then she was about to move to a third one. So a third account, and then she was like, "Well, I'm not going to use this. I'm going to be quiet, careful with it. Call me or text me if you need me." Okay, so we're doing that, and then she's emailing, and she's trying. She has Facebook reps that she knows, so she's trying to figure this all out. Eventually, they're like, "Oh yeah," and an error was made, and your account was zucked as a result. So I mean, they were even getting involved with trying to get some people in the libertarian, some resources we had in the libertarian party to like get on this too. Like, okay, do we need
Mm.
to start investigating? Do we need to get into some legal stuff because this is totally not right?
Yeah, it's
Um,
election interference.
yeah, all this because there was, there's whole sorts of stuff. There's Facebook pages connected. There's as a result, there's ads accounts. There's verification processes and all this stuff. Um, so we try to get on that. So then, within 72 hours of the initial deactivation of her account, she came back.
Okay.
Everything's back to normal. Even the sock account that was taken out, brought back too. So that was fine. And then this last week, a whole bunch of other libertarian accounts taken down.
Right.
Also, people involved in the campaign,
Right.
volunteers, some staff, all this stuff, just gone, 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 gone. Even some like libertarian podcasters that weren't involved in the campaign. So libertarians in general, high-profile libertarians, people who have popular podcasts, people who have large media presences in the libertarian
Yeah.
community, gone, all gone.
I think the big one I heard of was America as Fuck, the group on Facebook.
I don't know. There was
I don't know if
also
that's libertarian, but it's a massive.
there was
thing.
also one called the Minarchist versus Anarcho-Capitalist Debate Group.
Yeah, I saw Caitlin post about that.
Yeah, that one got taken down. That was a decent sized one. So some of these that are like all gone. Some of them possibly had some warnings involved, like some warnings and such, but it was a no warning thing. So typically, Facebook will give you like there's a whole process. Hey, you posted a meme we don't like. Here's
This
24
post
hours.
is 24 hours still stuff.
Violates terms of service, whatever. Usually it's 24 hours, 3 days, 7 days, 30 days, and then they just keep stacking on 30 days until they eventually decide we deactivate your account. None of that. It was like this person maybe had a couple of short ones and then just out of nowhere gone. A couple of people that had that happen. So there was some accounts have already been restored as soon as we all caught on to it. But the thing is we were like, it was kind of curious, hey, I mean, that's the thing is like it's the conservatives and the right want to really claim the whole they're coming after us and really I'd say a lot of the high profile like it's going to be concentrated there obviously because there's more voices there. But then now it's happening to libertarians and what's even funnier I think we'll kind of tie into this is what happened on Twitter with the people on the left that are not experiencing this.
Really? Some leftists are actually getting
No. So I think we should touch on like the whole thing with Jack Dorsey, who was called before Congress as like a hearing or something. It was video conference.
Yeah, it was over the fact that the New York Post, which broke the story regarding the laptop of Hunter Biden, and I mean
the media has its own biases and whatnot, but it's just,
sure.
This wasn't like a Fox News thing. It was a New York Post, which is
I mean, even if it was Fox News is legitimate news anyways, but
No, I know, but you know what I'm saying is in terms of right versus left, like this wasn't like a
New York Post is pretty right. The issue is that it's news, right? It is
well, no, I
noteworthy.
know that, but I'm saying is in terms of tech censorship, like so the left was kind of like, oh yeah, Twitter can do whatever they want. They're a private company. You guys believe in those things, right? You guys believe in private companies. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And then it comes at certain sources, they'll go after them. Like, oh, no, you can't do this. Like, I think, yeah. And so, anyway, so Hunter Biden, that whole thing, New York Post puts it out. And was it New York Post? And I learned this from watching the hearings.
Right.
So Jack Dorsey was on, and Babylon B thinks Jack Dorsey was replaced by a homeless man off the street.
Yeah. Yes, he looked like our friend Beard So Strong, except homeless.
He was on, and
I didn't see it. I actually did not see the hearings, although I did hear Ted Cruz was pretty badass.
So yeah, Ted Cruz had him on and was talking about censorship and the history of the New York Post and all this, and trying to point it out. And Jack Dorsey would not admit that Twitter has the power to influence elections.
Right. Of course, he's not going to admit that and perjure himself in any kind of admission. But it's worse than just censoring the New York. The New York Post. They took down the press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany, who was also trying to tweet the same thing, as well as I think Ted Cruz as well. He tried to share the article and stuff like that, and his account got suspended. So that's what kind of enraged. No, the tweet got deleted or something like that. And then Twitter comes up with this nonsensical terms of service where they suddenly have a policy concerning hacked material. The problem, of course, is the information is not hacked. And worse than that, they had no problem with the Steele dossier and the Trump and the Russian, collusion nonsense for 3.5 years, right? They had no issue. All of this supposed, spy and Russian spies and whatever. Yeah, that's fine. No problem, man. Put that out there. But you had verified intelligence and even a witness, right? The business partner comes forward and be like, yep, that's them. Yep, that's Joe Biden. The big guy he's talking about, that's Joe Biden. Yeah, Hunter's holding the money for him. Comes and he testifies. So Twitter creates this nonsense about hacked material. And if you go on the Twitter safety, Twitter account right now, they go into this long explanation about hacked material policy and all this kind of stuff. Total doublespeak because the material isn't hacked.
Right.
Everybody is calling them out on this. Like, it's not hacked. It's not hacked. It's verified information. Like, we have a witness. Like, where was this with the Steele dossier?
Yeah.
It's all falling apart. The media is in shambles. Even out here in the UK, Piers Morgan, who is a British celebrity, he was denied going onto some American broadcast show because he criticized them for not covering the Hunter Biden, expose.
Right.
I mean, how many reports have come out from quote unquote anonymous sources and person close to the White House and no evidence, none. And that's fine. But when it's affecting the Democrats, no, we need to protect ourselves. And I think the American people are seeing it pretty plainly.
Yeah, the censorship. Let's see here. Sorry, Sorry, I got family messaging me on something that I need to quickly weigh in.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, it is definitely getting worse. I think Gab, they put out a report saying that they've gotten the most subscribers. So Gab is the Twitter alternative. They've had a massive spike in in Gab users in the last 48 hours or so. Minds as well, like all the alternative tech, Parler, all those things, all of those are getting a lot of action and a lot of activity, since all of this nonsense has come out. And plus, the stock of Twitter's collapsed. I think it's down 20%, so we'll see what happens.
Um, yeah. The thing that I'm seeing is like what sucks is like there's all these alternatives, obviously,
Yes.
but their interfaces aren't as intuitive as some of these mainstream platforms.
Right.
Like Facebook and Twitter kind of own what they have, what they do, like the abilities they grant their users. But in order to kind of match that, it'd be really difficult to like create something that is just as intuitive without, I think, them coming after you. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's possible. I don't think it's a matter of the plot of the interface. Like Google tried Google Circles a couple years ago, and the interface was actually better than Facebook.
You mean Google Plus?
Yeah, it was Google. Well, yeah, it was Plus, and then it was Circle, and they rebranded it a couple times. And their technology was pretty good, but eventually, of course, Facebook just stole a lot of the things that made it good and implemented it there. The problem is the user base is still stuck on these platforms. Like if you want to connect with your friends and family, where are you going to go? You're going to go Facebook or Minds? Well, more than likely your friends and family are on Facebook. It's the same thing with YouTube. Yes, there are streaming alternatives, but 90% of all of the viewership and stuff like that, it's on YouTube. So the fact that they have this information already, that is what makes it very hard to be competitive.
Right. Yeah, that's the tough part. It's just people. There's all this talk of like even Jack Dorsey was like, yeah, there's other platforms, there's other channels, and it's like, yeah, you own a majority of the channels though. Like you can sit there and say, yeah, there's competitors, yeah, that own maybe what 5% of the market.
Exactly.
You know, for your group of friends.
It's like the Microsoft thing all over again with Netscape, which was the big antitrust case back in the, I guess, late 90s, early 2000s. Yes, there's alternatives to Microsoft. You know, Apple has their OS, Linux, however you want to pronounce it. That's an alternative, FreeBSD. All of these are, yeah. Well, Ubuntu is, yeah, it's a Linux strain. I say Linux strain.
Right.
But yeah, but how many people use it? If 95% of the world is stuck on your platform and they have to use Internet Explorer, which was the whole controversy, and it was built into their file search, you control the market. And yeah, Microsoft got hit pretty hard with that. We shall see what happens with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, there isn't any easy solution. There really isn't, because technology companies by nature tend to be monopolistic.
Yeah, break up Facebook, Twitter,
How?
and Google.
Yeah, how would you break up Twitter and Google? There really isn't a practical way to do it. Twitter and Twitter. Like somebody actually suggested that, like share the database. Yeah, it's like somebody said that. Maybe share the database of all the user information. So if you give minds.com the user information that Facebook has on their platform, like access to that, that might be a game changer. I think more so for Google, because Google has the AdSense following every user.
Yeah, you know, it'd be really interesting. Is if they could revitalize Facebook. Sorry, enough. MySpace.
MySpace is still running. How do you mean? It's still there.
So funny enough, Caitlin actually rebooted her MySpace.
Yeah, I think I see that. I think I saw
people
that.
were like joining her, and then I was sitting here like, maybe I should try.
I had a MySpace. I can't remember.
One did an article that said during the just before the hearing with Jack Dorsey, Congress accidentally calls Tom from MySpace.
Yeah, exactly. Can't knock it. The guy sold the company for like $200 million or whatever, and you know, it's not his problem.
He was your first friend on MySpace, and he, you know, the little whiteboard just.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a tough situation. I do not know what the answer to that would be. I mean, we've heard about the 230, what is it, the Communication Act, the 230 protection, where they basically can act as a platform and they're not a publisher, so it protects them from liability. I saw Mises did an article on that, basically saying you narrow that even further to, just the issues of free speech, because they're not just platforms. People make businesses off of YouTube. People make money off of Facebook and other things. So if there's kind of a repercussion, financial damage that is caused by policies they're producing, they should be liable based on their policies. Like, I know two companies, they were doing really well in the Google search engine, and then they changed the algorithm, and then the companies just disappeared because they got no more business. Those are tangible damages that should be done. So I don't think the 230 should be able to extend that far. They should be liable for some of the things that they've done.
Right. I'm personally not too familiar with 230. Actually, I know. The problem is just the fact that these platforms don't have much. Like they're so ahead of the legislation.
Yes.
And really the legislators.
Yes.
That they don't really know what to do with them.
Agreed.
Well, they could. There could be a way they could look into how to properly handle this, but they'd rather focus on re-election campaigns.
Yeah.
And of course, the election right now and COVID and all the stuff they got to throw around, so they're not gonna really do much to deal with this.
I mean, there's not much to it in the sense that I see Red Crusaders ask. I don't know. I haven't gone through the whole thing, but it basically amounts to making Facebook and these online platforms similar to a utility like the telephone company. Mm-hmm. And the telephone company is not liable for the drug deals.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I remember that now.
Right. So let me just finish the explanation for it. So you cannot sue the telephone company for people using the communication medium to do illegal activities. And a certain amount of that protection goes across to the Facebook and social media companies. That's the premise of the 230. Yeah. So, but they've taken that protection to an extreme where now they figure they can kind of censor whoever they want, right? And they're now using it to influence, which they are doing. They're influencing the U.S. election. And
yep.
Yeah, that's probably crossing some lines. We shall see. We'll see what happens.
Let's see here. What's our next topic, Brooke?
The spontaneous shopping spree that's erupted in Pennsylvania.
This one I haven't kept up with.
Right. So, I mean, the situation with what's his name, Walter Wallace. So this was another incident with the police confronting a black man who was brandishing a knife, and they're repeatedly telling him to, put the knife down, don't do anything. And unfortunately, the man was shot and he died on arrival. And this sparked a Walmart sale in Pennsylvania for the community. Everything half off must go. And, all of the peaceful protests that followed. So that is presently what's happening in Pennsylvania.
You saying the 5-figure discount?
Yeah, basically, peaceful protests in aisle 9, that's what's going on. Pennsylvania.
I don't understand this, guys. I don't advocate for any of this type of violence. However, hypothetically, if you want to be effective in your messaging in terms of your protests and you want to go down the road of violence, you go where the violence came from, not the entire system surrounding it and everything connecting it, even in the slightest way. Just because the cops possibly go to Walmart doesn't mean you take down Walmart.
Right.
Where do the cops go? They go. I mean, I'm not telling people to do this. This is entirely hypothetical. This is what I haven't understood. Is like, so when these protests started, especially here in obviously here in Minneapolis, the entire thing, I'm looking at it. I'm thinking, okay, there's this whole thing. There's this narrative. A lot of people believe this to be certain. It's supposed to be interpreted a certain way. There's definitely cases where police are, abusing their abilities to just do things and get away with it. I
Yes.
totally agree with that. But in order to burn down everything around the building except for the building where those cops work, where their institution resides, and or even to leave that for the last one, not the first one, or the focus or whatever, is
Yes.
just completely goes against your narrative. Because if people were basically like, if the people saw this and go, oh, a cop did this to this guy, George Floyd, and then they went and protested and rioted at the police station.
Right.
People would go, okay, yeah.
Makes sense. Or even the mayor's office or the police
mayor's
commissioner.
office, or the governor's office, whatever.
Yeah.
Or the White House, even to a degree.
Yeah,
like
sure.
That's way closer than the Walmart or the Target or all the mom and pop
or the
shops.
Gucci.
All the mom and pop shops that got taken down. All the places that have been, that were from immigrants, and all these people that lost everything, that had nothing to do with this.
Yes. Yes.
If anything, they would be with you because they are also minorities. It's like, no, you went and go burn down all of that, then you burn down the police department.
Well, it's more than that. It was not only was Walmart hit, I think 11 people died, 30 police were injured, including a truck that ran through a crowd of people that ran over a policeman. I don't know if you saw that.
Did not see that.
That is also part of what's going on in the city of brotherly love, by the way. Right, Philadelphia.
And I'm sitting here thinking, like this, and this is the thing. This is why they have these studies that come out and say this is why violent protest, rioting tends to lose support for the cause.
Correct.
Because it has a tendency to go off the rails.
Correct. And I mean, to swing this back, obviously we could tie this into our election conversation. This is, as I say, BLM is working hard campaigning for Trump, right? Antifa and BLM are campaigning for Trump by their actions that are taking place in Philadelphia right now.
Yeah, this is that kind of that problem, because I talked to some people you and I know that we would actually agree with. So this is not someone we would disagree with.
Oh, okay, that narrows it down.
Yeah, like what? But because this is not like a nag on them, but it's basically we had this conversation. And this is someone who works in the public sector, we'll just say. And so they looked at this and they were like, hey, and this person was like, hey, I'm all for Trump, I'll vote for Trump and all this. But he goes, you got to understand, when you set up a whole scenario where Trump has to send in, agents and stuff, federal resources and such, forget his reasons.
Yeah.
Anyone that comes after him is going to actually abuse that then.
Right.
And this is the whole thing is people in times of these crises, they're going to favor, and with all this chaos, they're going to favor the law and order side.
Correct.
Which does one of two things. One, only loses support for the ones that are trying to protest and trying to further their ideas, trying to show, shed light on this. And it's going to favor the law and order side. And then the next guy that comes around that might not be in line with Trump's views, that wants to play the law and order side, they'll go with that. Further on, possibly sacrificing certain freedoms and liberties. This is what people do.
Yeah. That's always the risk.
That is the risk, but this is kind of the I think this is like kind of the more of the bigger picture take, but this is the thing. But this of course goes back to BLM is now, like you said, campaigning for Trump.
And in a swing state, Pennsylvania is a swing state.
Yeah.
Right. That if Biden loses Pennsylvania, I don't think he has a path to victory. Trump only needs, I think, maybe 2 of the 4 major swing states. So it's Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Minnesota. He needs one of those 4, and he's kind of wrapped it up.
Yeah.
But the 2 things: one, the gaffe from Biden in the debates about getting rid of fossil fuel. Pennsylvania is an oil and gas fracking state, and now the city of brotherly love is burning. that is also going to help Trump, which is why the rally he's at right now is 57,000 people have showed up.
Yeah. Now,
I mean, did you hear what happened to the Biden campaign?
Okay, so I was talking about this with someone about this because I saw people were like, "Oh my gosh, Trump supporters are violent and horrible." And I'm thinking, well, what the heck happened? So I'm looking this up, and so Biden's campaign bus got surrounded by Trump supporters' trucks, and they were basically waving Trump flags.
Yes.
Some of them did have guns.
Yes,
well, but not a shot was fired.
I'm not surprised by that.
There were just trucks waving Trump flags around a Biden bus.
Yes,
and they took it as there was reported as an ambush of the Biden campaign. And so people are reading this, and I'm seeing people who might generally on the left on my newsfeed like, "Oh my gosh, how could the violence and interfering with elections and all this stuff?" And I'm thinking,
I'm sorry.
Antifa, BLM.
Yeah, it's kind of like, what about the elephant in the room?
Other groups that no one wants to talk about.
BLM went up on Bernie Sanders and took the mic from him. I mean, when are we going to start talking about that?
Supports them,
Yeah. Like, when are we going to start talking about that, And I think eventually he did get to the podium. Biden got to the podium. And he ended up, I think he called the Trump supporters ugly, or he made some comment, not like those ugly people, or like basically his deplorables moment. He made a comment about Trump supporters.
Have you heard about his that really long word he invented?
No, I saw somebody do it, but I didn't actually watch the video on it. Like, we're going to release this something.
We're going to release a Trump.
The Thumparamanama.
And someone wrote out the word. It's an actual word now.
It's like kofefe?
It's someone actually let me look this up.
So Trump has kofefe and Biden has whatever that word was.
It is, let me see. I got here we go. All right.
I mean, I didn't see it. I saw somebody put it up and I was like, what the fuck is that?
So I'm gonna put it in the in our stream chat here.
Yes, so everyone can see. Do you want to try and pronounce that?
So he was saying, we're gonna make him release the
highlight the comment and put it underneath us so the viewers of the future can see this. This is the word. Fuck it, I can't do it.
And this is an actual word now that is going around the internet. Like, this is the word he said. Like, what?
That's fun. I mean, Trump did do the kofefe, right? He did the, he did the tweet with the kofefes
into one.
Oh my goodness!
But no, that's the actual word, and it was like trending on Twitter for a little bit too. But there's like multiple clips of him saying this. Let me see. Actually,
I don't even know what he was trying to say with that. It's not because it was COVID related, wasn't it? It was.
I could probably pull up the video. Let's see here.
Yeah, see if you can find the video. I'd be curious to see. I mean, the videos. Trump is such a showman. Look, I'm even fucking doing the hands now. I'm going to start doing the accordion pretty soon. Trump was such a showman. At one of his rallies, he actually played a clip of Biden in the rally. Basically him talking about he's got hairy legs, and the little kids like to come and they run their hands on his legs, and they like to watch the hair, and he knows all about cockroaches and hair. Or some shit like that, and everybody's like, yeah.
Okay, here we go. Let's see. Can I share my screen? Yes.
Here we go. For our listeners, Amos is just doing some technical stuff. Here we go.
Wait, actually, hold on.
Do we have the audio for it?
Let me redo it here quick.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, audio. There we go. I forgot to select that.
Yeah. Oh, Red Crusader says he's got a link of it as well.
Here it is. Okay.
Okay.
Ready?
Fire it up. Yeah.
I'll lead an effective strategy to mobilize true international effort to pressure.
Yep. There we are.
The next president of the United States, everybody. Oh my God. I'll take the kofefe, man.
Lead a true pressure. And then the ending is
that is, I mean he's made so many gaffes, and you know, from the Harris administration comments to running against George. Remember, he thinks he's running against George Bush.
And then someone was like, "Oh, he's actually talking about George Lopez," and I was like, "Where's George Lopez in that video?"
It's like, what has that got to do against what?
Oh, well, in terms of gaffes, and I'm hearing a lot of people trying to defend him on gaffes, like, oh, like he takes, you know, they say, oh, he's not actually losing it because he kind of, like, he pauses, he knows he's doing what he's doing. He kind of brings it around.
Yeah, I've heard some people say he's got a stutter.
They're saying, like, okay, maybe he's slow, maybe he has a stutter, but he brings it around. But to go as far as to say that he's like Alzheimer's or something like that,
we'll see.
Like,
we'll see.
Yeah, there because there are clauses and there are laws, there are constitutional procedures to deem him to be unfit.
Yes.
And, you know, what was it? Nancy Pelosi wanted to lead some like coalition of bipartisan like congressional members to form a committee to look into the fitness of the president.
Yes.
It's like, okay, if you really want to do that, and you know, for some reason, let's say Biden became president, you better start that procedure right away.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even Nancy Pelosi had a screw up recently where she was, you know, she was caught in an interview where suddenly her brain reset, and in the middle of the interview, she's like, "Hello, good morning." Just like out of nowhere, sort of thing.
You sure it wasn't like a reset of her algorithms and
I don't know. Maybe the Botox had expired or something. Maybe her inner tapeworm woke up and like took control of the body or something. I don't know what what that was.
No, her the servos in her face kind of gave way. She kind of
yeah. I'm starting to think maybe you were right. We should probably start putting some age limits on the house.
Well, I was saying age limits on the Supreme Court too.
Now there's a reason why, because if they have to go and do another job after the Supreme Court, it's going to affect their decisions. So I think it's better that they have a lifetime appointment. That's how you protect.
How can you not have enough money to retire after the Supreme Court?
It's not about that. It's that I mean, not everybody wants to retire and do nothing.
Speaking engagements. You know, you could
get that
lecture
now.
at colleges and universities. You could do
yeah, but you never. Not everybody's going to be responsible with their money. You never know if they might want to do another job after that.
Right.
Yeah. So that's kind of the reasoning why they do it as a lifetime appointment.
They really want to go and work at the grocery store.
Hey, I know some
retired 10 years earlier, and she just decided to go work at the local, you know, Walmart.
I know a couple sports celebrities that are doing that right now. You know, big sports celebrities back in the 80s, and I think they're working at Walmart. You know,
I remember I worked as a cashier at a grocery store, and someone from my school, I won't say who, played in the Super Bowl.
Okay, cool.
And won. And so he came to the store like a year or two later, and I'm sitting there, and he's wearing a hat, kind of covering like. I know who he is. So he comes up and he's like, hey, I didn't even notice. I'm just a tall guy scanning all his stuff. And then I'm like, hey, here's your change. And then my hand, like I put the money in his hand.
Yeah.
And it was like, just barely. And I was like, wait, it's the ring. Super Bowl ring. And I'm thinking,
yeah.
Oh, and then he left and he goes, all right, have a good day. I'm thinking like, and then I walk up to someone, do you know who that was? And they're like, who? Like, some other people. I was like, that's that guy. And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah, he was wearing the
Cool.
ring. Granted, he wasn't like a starter, and he was like a second string. So the team he played for, they employed a like sort of a strong side and a weak side. He was the weak side player,
Right.
technically second string. So anyway, so others jargon, but yeah, there was that. But I mean, and then he would like grace us with his presence at like school events. He'd just show up. Um,
Cool.
but I don't think I ever saw him to be like doing other jobs or anything.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes, especially, there's a whole documentary on athletes and rappers and lottery winners that they live
Continue
fast
to
and
work.
sorry.
They continue to work.
No, they go broke and they end up having to do menial work. They have to go back to Walmart and they have to go
Really?
back and yeah. So like lottery winners, I think it's most lottery winners, ostracized family, whatever. But sports personalities as well, like boxers, especially baseball, basketball, these types of
Because they
things.
just don't know how to invest, and they build up
Correct.
this entire lifestyle that they can't maintain.
They can't maintain. I mean, a very famous one from the 80s was MC Hammer. So it's a little before your time. But MC Hammer was one time the biggest pop star. He even came to Trinidad. I saw him live in Trinidad. And I mean, he basically employed the entire fucking neighborhood. He had an entourage of maybe like 12,000 people. And he burnt out. He lost his house. I think he's a preacher now. He had a small stint with reality TV, but he was raking in millions and he's basically got nothing left.
So what you're saying is, he couldn't touch his money. Couldn't touch it.
Yeah, you can't touch this. Yeah. Some of them, Willie Nelson had a tax bill. I don't know if he ever recovered from that. Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Tax bill.
Yeah. He was wanted for tax evasion and something happened. Yeah, it's pretty tragic, some of these stories.
I do know people who were like supposed to be sports stars that couldn't due to certain injuries.
Yeah, that happens as well.
But let's see, what do we have for time here? Okay, we're doing good. No. Let's see here.
Can you hear that? I don't know if the listeners could hear that.
Your neighbor watching?
Yeah,
porn?
my neighbor. Yeah. So if for future listeners, if you didn't catch us on Religion Zero, my downstairs neighbor is currently watching some rather exotic pictures. So if you hear any video. If you hear any moaning or very bizarre sounds, I swear it's not me. It's him watching porn downstairs.
No, that's where you like look down and go, "You doing all right down there?"
He's been going at it for at least 3 hours now.
Well, if it's lasting longer than 4 hours, I think you should check in on him.
Yeah, I'll have to call the ambulance.
Funny enough, speaking of those types of
we should get Blue Chew as a sponsor, That's the erection pills.
I was playing so just a quick little side thing. So yesterday being Halloween,
Yes.
I did a little Halloween themed D&D thing.
Is that your neighbor watching porn?
No, I don't know.
Is that the police? Are they about to storm your building?
Oh, upstairs neighbors.
Okay. So I got downstairs neighbors, you got upstairs neighbors.
I've been downstairs, but I mainly hear the upstairs.
Yeah.
But excuse me. So did a little like special D&D session. It's called we call it a one shot base. It's a one-off adventure.
Sure.
Sit down once, there's beginning and end.
Like
and
hour and a half, 2 hours kind of thing. Just knock it
it
out.
went like 4 hours.
Fucking hell.
Which is why I'm probably looking a little tired and a little bit, out of it now. I'll be fine though. It just takes a lot longer to wake up. So we did like a Halloween theme. It was involving like so it's like these four unlikely companions in a town that no one cares about. they're like working in this menial job of like town services. So like they witness these execution like a day
Right.
before the fall festival. I call it the All Hallows Festival. It's Halloween, but not directly saying it.
Right.
So they're doing this. They 1 of 5 in Michigan. Oh, okay.
Good to have you, Edmundo. Welcome to the party.
So they're witnessing this execution. Then one of them is like, now this is an actual word. So understand for listeners, the word is spelled Knacker.
Okay.
Knacker.
Right.
Understand that word. Not saying another word. So because we were trying to come up with like, okay, what would this guy do? Because this is a guy, he was this half orc individual. One of the characters was playing this. And his whole thing was, his job was, he was just the muscle for the undertakers. Like he would take the bodies, dig a
Right.
hole, do some grave digging, and just dump them in and do it. He was just the muscle. Half
Right.
orcs, these big, strong kind of creatures, of doing all this. Like, and so I was like, well, what is he? He goes, oh, he would be the town knacker.
Right.
And we're all kind of like, how it sounds, but but it's an actual word. You can look it up. Knacker.
Right.
So yeah, he was the town doing this, and then there was like these other people that were serving other functions. But basically, there's this whole mystery that sort of unfolds where they have to confront a long dead count. Basically, it's a vampire thing.
Right.
And it just took forever.
Yeah, obviously, if it took you 4 hours.
Well, like the thing is, you usually, as a dungeon master, you try to like set it up, and you think, okay, you can kind of guesstimate.
Yeah.
That's the time, and then like, but there was this one part where they were in. Okay, we're going to investigate everything in this area, and I'm like. And I'm sitting there having to improvise. Okay, so you see this, you see that, you go into this crypt, you see a bunch of these things, do that, and I'm sitting there like, okay, guys, just I'm thinking in my head, it's over there.
Like,
it's over
like
there.
focus, yeah, like get back on track.
Like, we got to look at all this other stuff. Is there any markings?
Oh, they're doing that just to shit on you, man.
I'm just like, oh. And once
they're
it got
punking you,
and one of the players is also a dungeon master, more experienced, and he like, there's a term we use in D&D called railroading.
Right.
Railroading is basically like, so you understand going off the rails.
Yes, going off the rails. So you're trying to get them back on track.
Railroading can become very like it's like you're forcing them. Like, man, if you like, and he like, even the guy joking character, if we even deviate a few meters off in one direction, there might be an invisible barrier. Like,
he's trying to help you out, man.
So, but yeah, it was, and I was like, as you come around this side and on your adventure, you hear a faint choo choo, but yeah, no, it was fun. We got to the end of it, but towards the end, they were pretty much like, okay, did we kill the vampire yet? Are we done? And I'm like sitting here reading through this. I'm like, well, not exactly. They go, well, how do we kill it? And I'm like, you know what? Okay, you killed it. All right.
Just give up.
Because there's a special way in D&D how you kill a vampire, and it's this whole thing. And I'm sitting there like, guys, you can look it up.
Fair enough. After 4 hours, yeah, I think that's a bit.
Like,
I mean, at least you got to do something for Halloween. I was looking forward to donning the Ragnar Lothbrok costume and going out and playing Viking for the night. Hopefully, getting lots of rum and
only in the
picking up some
pillaging side thing, right? Only just the
the pillaging and consenting rape. I'll say that. So, but we did. No. I there's nothing open. I couldn't do anything, and I even let the beard grow out. He does have a straggly beard. Anybody who's watched Vikings, and I was like, shit, man, I gotta wait till next year. I couldn't do anything this year. It's actually quite pissing me off at this point. So.
Halloween, Thanksgiving.
Well, we don't have a Thanksgiving in the, in
we're
the
gonna
UK.
have it, we're the cool country. We have Thanksgiving.
Well, we'll see. We're older.
Thanksgiving, Christmas.
And there's Christmas. There's not
The
much
ball
for me in
drop
Christmas.
is gonna be virtual.
I don't think I'll make it to London this year. I don't know if Cardiff might have something in Wales. Maybe.
It's just someone from the who's social distancing in their home just drops a giant ball from their apartment window.
It's so silly, man. I mean, I did London a couple years ago because I'd always watched the fireworks and stuff in Trinidad and be like, someday I'm going to be in London and I'm going to see it live. And I did it a couple of years ago. It was good. It's a mess of people. I don't think they're going to do it this year because of COVID and all that nonsense. So
Well, yeah, the ball drop for New York, I guess it's going to be done virtually. So they're going to do it in Times Square, but they're
Right.
going to clear Times Square.
Right. It wouldn't have anybody there. It's not going to be the same. Not going to be the same. But speaking of which, we're coming down to the time here. Have you witnessed the latest adaptation, addition to the Star Wars canon of The Mandalorian?
So Mandalorian season 2.
Mandalorian season 2, episode 1. It comes out every Friday. Is that right?
I think so. So
Yeah,
I
either
watched
Thursday or
it.
Friday.
I checked it out. Spoiler alert for everyone who's
Yes.
at this point.
Yes.
What did you think?
I thought it was all right. I thought it was kind of in vein with the first one.
Yeah, it's definitely it kind of, there's definitely like there's been some development. You can kind of see that.
Yes, they've obviously got a bigger budget. So
Well, I'm
they're
saying the
doing
character in
more.
terms of the storyline. So, you could tell like the child, the Baby Yoda,
Yeah.
and Mandar kind of have a bit of a more of a rapport right now.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely that going on for sure.
And like there's a scene I think he was about to like something, so that he's confronted with someone, things are about to possibly escalate, and then the Baby Yoda just beep and then just hides in his pod.
Yeah.
That's where I was kind of like getting that feeling like there's definitely more of a relationship between them.
Yes.
And definitely nice little reference. Nice. The whole episode is basically based on Tatooine.
Yes, it is on Tatooine. That's right.
Who is that guy at the end?
The guy at the end.
The
Which
guy
one?
that's like looking over, and he just turns around and walks away.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the lore that well. I didn't.
Yeah, I'm
notice
sitting there
who it
looking at
was.
it too, and I'm like, "Fuck! Like, what is this?" Like,
Yeah.
I was thinking, like, okay, like Ben Kenobi, or
Wow.
like
Well, no.
or-
This is after all of that. Remember, this
No.
is. Yeah. This is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's all. Yeah. That would have been cool, but no. They're actually doing a Kenobi.
They are doing that.
series. Yeah.
I've seen some fan made films on that. Those are pretty good.
Yes.
The people that are
Yes.
like, they'll do like a 20-minute video of like Kenobi having to interfere or step into Luke's life when he's like too young to know anyways. But
Yeah. I've seen that as well.
But yeah, no, I liked it. I liked it pretty well. I mean, there was definitely a new dynamic, like the Sand People,
Yes.
speaking with the Sand People.
Speaking with the Sound People, the Worm, very very Dune-esque.
Yeah, but it kind of makes. I guess that makes sense.
I have no idea. I mean,
Well, but remember, it was only in that part of Tatooine.
right.
Like anywhere else, if you didn't have this giant worm thing.
I don't remember worms on Tatooine, but sure, why not?
But even in the episode, he had to go to like this other part.
Oh yeah, I get that. But I mean, it did travel out to that town, and it ate the bison thing,
Yeah.
and so it does travel around a little bit. I mean, I think it's an homage to Dune. Dune, of course, is the giant sandworms on Arrakis.
Yeah.
I think that movie is supposed to come out next year, so maybe that's like a little homage. Jon Favreau is kind of giving his nod to
I
it.
gotta say, Favreau is definitely doing a good job with carrying on the legacy of Star Wars.
Yes.
Definitely his own style, but it's
Yes.
still better than Rian Johnson.
Better than what came before. I still have not seen the last Star Wars. Was it The Rise of Skywalker? And I probably never will. Maybe if it ends up on Netflix and I get really high on mushrooms, I might like put it on by accident.
Like, I was looking at You probably saw me post this, the Babylon Bee article. FBI catches up with Ryan Johnson before he attempts to direct The Mandalorian.
Yes, I did see that.
And it's just like a picture of him being like hunted down. Like,
yeah.
so, someone on there actually like, commented on like, should have shot him before it's too late or something. I'm like, Jesus.
So,
Savage.
I mean, I'm looking forward to it. It's very light entertainment. It's not very heady. We'll see what comes of it. I mean,
the thing, the subtlety in the show.
Yes,
it's not action heavy. It's not plot heavy. It's a very simple plot.
Yes,
with very basic, plot points that they're kind of following. There's a general storyline.
Yes,
and you don't feel like a crazy investment. Like you're invested in the show, but you're not like if something happened to the characters, it's like it's not that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I get what you're saying, because so it's really just Mando and Baby Yoda. Like if something happened to Baby Yoda, the universe would implode, right? The hearts of millions of fans around the world would just like turn inwards and crush itself. And it would cause a singularity and bring about the end of the world. So, I mean, you're invested in Baby Yoda and you're invested in the Mandalorian. But because he's transient, because he keeps moving from place to place, everybody, the people you connect with in the episode are kind of circumstantial. They don't stick around for very long. Yeah. And that I mean, so far it works. I thought it was very light and entertaining. It's like, oh yeah, cool. That's I could live with that. I don't know where they're going to go with this season. I don't think they want to get too heavy, but we'll see.
They get heavy at the end. That's about it.
I figure that's the case. I mean, at the same time, I don't know if you've watched any of the Star Trek that's been going on.
So I'm in a couple of the Star Trek like Facebook groups just to see, like, mainly for memes, and there's funny memes.
Yes, you send me a few from time to time.
But holy crap, the peak SJW that happens. Like someone pointed out that one of the characters like gained a little weight or something. Like the actress.
I stopped watching after the first episode of season 2.
So something happened with one of the characters, the actress, like gained a little weight. So someone just posted in one of these groups.
Yeah.
Hey, did so and so gain a little weight? She looks a little different from the previous season.
Yeah.
Immediate firestorm of comments. Fat phobia, fat shaming, rah, 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 rah,
really?
Rah, 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 rah. And I'm like, whoa.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, Star Trek has been tainted. I'm sorry. It's
and then all the there was a couple of memes of that specific character from like because they do like the dark mirror universe thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So like there's scenes where like those characters are like, obviously they're like the Terran Empire and evil and whatever. And they're like playing like this character who like a scene where she's like showing her mirror self, like what she's like and all this. And I'm like, and of course, my understanding just from all the memes and what I've seen is like basically when they did these mirror universe episodes, it was just a bunch of women.
Right.
I'm like, right, because that's how you get empowerment is in the Terran Empire of the new Trek. It's just evil women. It's like because women can be evil too. Like, that's true empowerment, everyone. I'm thinking
equality at last, equality unlocked.
Well, it was like someone pointed this out, and this will have to be a whole different topic at some other point. Is the push from the progressive ideas in media to the point that regardless of moral alignment, just representation.
Right.
So, what was it? What was that? There was that horror character, Babadook.
Babadook in what series?
I forgot. There was it. There was Pennywise.
Pennywise was in it.
And
yeah.
he had Babadook.
I'm not up on a lot of horror, to be honest. So, but they're trying to like make a female version of that sort of thing.
Babadook is a sort of cartoonish looking character. Let's see here. Yeah. So there's a pop-up. Basically, it's about this like some sort of kids picture book. No. That's not what I'm doing there, Red Crusader. I see him in the chat. So Babadook was like some new horror movie character, based in like he's in Australia. There's this pop-up book of this sort of like titular looking, like cartoon looking guy, but he kind of has this like creepy look to him, so he could easily become like evil and like a horror character. So Babadook and Pennywise were kind of like thrown together to be some sort of, there was like articles coming out about how they could be gay or asexual, whatever, something like that going on. Like they're pansexual. I'm like sitting here, I'm thinking, why do horror characters have like sexual identities now? Why? Like, I mean, okay, I know why, but at the same time, I'm like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
What?
Just for my reasons, my diversity.
And so there's this whole video that I was pointing out, like the woke media is pushing so hard for representation and this sort of inclusive idea that they will throw out the moral side. These are creatures and beings in movies that kill and eat people.
Right. Yeah. They're not real people.
Why does it like? Because it's like you're going so hard as to make them to have these identities that have no bearing on their character, that you completely throw out what they are. They're pure incarnations of evil that are meant to instill fear in us when we watch it. So and then there's this struggle to whatever in horror movies and such.
Yeah.
Like no one is gonna sit there and think, are we slut shaming the girl from The Grudge?
Right.
I
mean, did you see the new Alice in Wonderland trailer with Angelina Jolie? It is probably one of the most disliked videos on YouTube right now, but basically they've race swapped every character. So the whole cast is black except for her.
Yeah, there's some new show that's going to be coming out depicting one of like some queen from
Jodie
history.
Yeah, I actually have the article here. Jodie Turner-Smith is going to play Anne Boleyn, and if I'm gonna share my screen, you could just see. Let's see. Yeah, tell me if you got that. Did that come up?
Here we go.
Yes. This is the actress. She's going to play Anne Boleyn, wife to King Henry VIII.
Who's Anne Boleyn?
She was the one who was beheaded. He was one of his wives.
And I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, okay, this is if the term whitewash is going to be applied,
right?
Does another term have to be applied for cases like this?
That does, and I think this is the worst.
For the sake of consistency, because you need to be consistent in your messaging. So
I would agree.
Sit there and say and point out, like, okay, for example, was it the Gods of Egypt?
Yes,
that was that one where Gerard Butler and all these people were like playing Egyptians, and they're all white people.
Yeah,
I can actually agree with that. Yeah, you want to make it authentic, you want to make it genuine. Yeah. Definitely do that. I actually would prefer that in a way. I mean, I'm watching it. I'm more caught into the story. It's secondarily, I'm probably gonna be like, oh, like really?
Yeah.
Like some of the features and stuff. That's not entirely like it. Okay, but so they want to point that out, sure. Yeah. But in reverse, so it's like representation when we want it, but not representation when it's other things we don't care about.
It is the worst form of tokenization that Hollywood, and again, it just shows how racist Hollywood is, right? instead of doing a story about an actual African queen and giving black people actual representation of their history,
Like,
they
holy crap.
tokenize. They take white historical characters and they race swap them, giving it is the token of a token. It is insulting that you
Mega
cannot
token.
give people. Yeah, it's like a mega token, right? And like again, this I know this is probably the miniseries. I don't know if it's the BBC or something. The BBC is all about diversity at this point. They did a documentary, well, a docu-series about the Roman Empire, and everybody was black. And you know, it's for some reason like the BBC is just totally anti-white in this
let's be
country.
clear. Let's be clear on what you said. It's not like everybody's black. It's just in European context.
Yes.
There is a clear, and this. I mean, this obviously can tie back into the whole D&D thing. Like,
Yeah.
when people have asked me, like, okay, you know, in your settings, in the worlds you play in, it's like, you know, I was asking the players yesterday.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, what do you guys want to do? Well, you know, this guy wants to be a half orc. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And then
Yes.
some other players like, can I be in half orc? I'm like, okay, you can, but that just means I have to change the setting. And they're like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, here's the thing. If an entire party was just half orcs, you're not
Yeah.
going to be in a human. You're not going to be in a more human dominant part of the world.
Correct.
You can encounter humans, but it's going to be, you're probably going to frighten some people because they're going to
Yeah.
see a whole bunch of half orcs walking around. Like, what the heck's going on?
Yeah, it's there are ways to do it well. I think there was a Alice in Wonderland not is it Alice in Wonderland? Dorothy is which one? The Magic Ruby Slippers. What's the story of that?
Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz. Thank you. Right. In the 80s, there was a black version of that. I think it was called The Oz or something like that. And, you know, it was all black actors and it was all Soul Train and, you know, all this different kinds of stuff. You know, yeah, fair enough. But that's a completely different genre. They're not tackling that onto the Wizard of Oz, right? If you want to have honest representation, have honest representation. This is just pandering. And this is probably why that, whatever the Alice in Wonderland, it is the most disliked because it is forced. It just looks so forced, and I think people are getting tired of it.
One of those first examples that I saw this, and I didn't even notice it, which you know shows how progressive I am. But I watched it and I didn't even notice it. But the more I looked into it and I was like, wait, it's a bit odd. And I thought, well, let me look into this. So it was a show called Merlin. It was done by the BBC.
Okay.
And it was basically following like it wasn't like a full-grown Merlin.
Yeah, I think I know the series. He's a young guy.
A young Merlin who's a sorcerer who protects in secret Prince Arthur at the time, who eventually becomes King Arthur.
Yeah.
And then there's hints and stuff like, you know, how, like they call like the land of Albion, which is what the England, but basically what
Avalon. Yeah, that's will be Camelot.
No, Albion is the nation, the entire continent of United Kingdom.
Britain,
basically, yeah. So there's all this stuff, and I'm thinking, okay, cool. So I'm watching all this, and then of course, who does King Arthur marry?
I don't know.
Guinevere.
Well, I mean, Queen, the actress.
Yes, Queen Guinevere played anyway. So I'm watching this whole thing, and I was like, wait. So Guinevere was a maid serving the king, and I thought, okay. It's interesting. So I'm looking through this and I'm like, wait, played by black woman. Okay, I mean, fine actress, you know,
right?
Woman. It's nothing. It's not about that. I'm sitting there, so I'm looking like, well, that's not historically accurate. And I'm looking at it even further. She's the only black woman in the entire cast.
Right.
And I was like,
and she's basically the bed wench to the king.
She was the maid to the king.
Yeah.
To then eventually be made queen.
Right. Bed wench.
So Arthur becomes king and changes the laws, makes her queen, and all this stuff. I was like, and I was watching this whole thing, and there wasn't any mention of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so fine, there's that, but I didn't see like historical accuracy shouldn't be seen as some sort of thing. It's being accurate. It's being genuine. Like I remember when I watched Valkyrie, Tom Cruise and all these
Oh,
people
right.
basically Nazi
The
officers that wanted to
Nazi,
kill.
yeah,
And
Hitler.
the entire it's basically it's chronicling the events surrounding a very, very close to successful coup and assassination of Hitler.
Yeah,
And and while that's the entire plot, they have to be in there. They did everything they could to be entirely accurate to uniform,
yeah,
structure, the language they use, everything.
yeah.
Even there's even a scene where you hear Tom Cruise speaking in German,
Right, right.
very well sounding German. So you're watching all that. At no point am I sitting there for the sake of consistency and genuine being authentic. I'm not sitting there going, he's doing a really good Nazi German kind of sounding accent. I don't know what that means. No, it's being consistent
Yeah,
because the message is not about that. It's about assassinating Hitler and this sort of uprising and the coup and all this.
yeah.
But if all of a sudden I saw one of those Nazi officers look nothing like a German,
Right.
blatantly not, regardless, Asian, black, whatever else,
Yeah.
or,
It would
or
pull
even,
it
or,
would
even or even Hispanic,
yeah, it would pull you out of the story, which is
I would look at it and go,
yeah, this is what Hollywood is. They're pushing not their agenda over the storytelling, and they've been doing it for quite some time. But what you can't do that with a visual art form. If as I say, if the character, there have been a couple of times when I've noticed the swap, and it literally pulls me out of the whole experience of enjoying a film. And it's nothing against black people, it's nothing against black actors. It's just it feels forced. It doesn't feel natural in the storytelling.
Have you heard of the story of this king from Africa who was supposedly one of the richest men in history?
I'm not sure which story that is, but I do know of a couple of very rich kings have come out of Africa.
Exactly. Why can't we make movies about them?
Yeah, fascinating story. Well, Black Panther was one of the biggest hits of the last couple of years. It was an authentically black character literally from Africa, and it was a hit, and it was loved and admired by everybody. Right, that is the actual.
And it was so convincing. A bunch of people wanted to buy tickets to Wakanda.
Yeah, right. We got that too, right? But
you can do it if you want to do it, but don't instead of changing stories.
Yes.
Make new and better stories.
There is a very rich African culture that has fantastic stories.
Yeah.
Or even what was one of the ones I thought they were going to do, and we could probably wrap up after this. One of the James Bond movies, I think it was Tomorrow Never Dies or something. The one with Halle Berry. I think it was the 20th with Pierce Brosnan as Bond and Halle Berry was Jinx. So Jinx was the American version to James Bond. She's worked for the CIA, this kind of thing. She was fantastic. She basically did Ursula and Angela coming out of the water from Dr. No. I don't know, right? She did that whole scene very sexy and whatever. And she pulled it off fantastically. Now, if the studio had wanted to, they could have gone on and done their own Jinx Bond-esque type of movies. But that's where it works. It is, you've created a brand new black character, and you can do that whole narrative.
Now they want a 007 that's black.
Now, fast forward to 2020. Well, it's probably going to be 2021 at this point. Now, I understand the 007 is a code number that goes to the spy, right? Fair enough. So Bond is retired. He no longer has the moniker of 007, and they've given it to a black woman, right? Fine. And the problem is they shit on Bond a little bit, and that's kind of where the problem, for me at least. But you could have gone, if you want to do that, you create brand new characters or actually pull from African history. Like if Hollywood wants to so not be racist and so virtue signal how inclusive they are, get some African stories. Get actual, stories that are coming out of African culture and stuff like that. And instead of slapping some color on basically what is Western civilization or Western storytelling, that's the worst type of tokenism as far as I'm concerned. And I think a lot of people are seeing it at this point. It's just kind of,
it does more to actually say we have the better stories rather than acknowledging actual good stories.
Well, it's not to say we have better stories. It's just they don't want to risk material that they're not familiar with. They don't actually want to take any risks. So instead of taking, like in the Caribbean, we have the sukunya, which is our version of a vampire. It's this big fireball lady and stuff like that. Instead of investing in something obscure like that, let's just, we'll repaint Alice in Wonderland, or we'll redo Oz, Yeah, it just shows the cowardice of Hollywood at this point.
So let's actually wrap it up here then.
Yeah, no problem.
Anyways, so yeah, thanks everyone, of course, for joining us. Now, if you guys do want to, what the heck? Oh, yeah, if you guys do want to support the show, we do, of course, thank everyone for joining us. Do check out our previous episodes. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to us on podcasting platforms such as, Spotify, Amazon, Google, Apple Podcasts, so iTunes Podcasts and such. Do check all of that out. Now, and of course, we do have other ways you can support the show. Now, you can support us through purchasing Tactical Soap at tacticalsoap.com. 10% off if you use the 10K Rum coupon code, and then a little bit of that goes back to us. Or go to the Subscribestar website, subscribestar.com/shitlord-preachers. You can check it out there, where you can support the show on a monthly basis, anywhere between $1 a month to $25 a month, and there's a whole bunch of tiers you can check out there. All of that is, of course, in the links below. If there's, of course, anything you guys want us to kind of pursue in the future, there's even ways you can communicate with us through social media. All the links are below there too. So thank you everyone for joining us. Of course, we will see everyone next week. I'll be, of course, at the Dallas event over the next few days, and then we'll, of course, give a raw takes on that. So that'll be a good reason to join us as well. So thanks everyone for joining us. We will, of course, see everyone next week.
Thanks for watching, everyone.